All right, let's pull back the curtain on one of the most important, but kind of invisible, systems that secures our entire online world. We're talking about public key infrastructure, or PKI. It is the silent guardian behind almost every single secure thing you do on the internet.
Now, to really get why PKI is such a big deal, we've got to start with the fundamental problem it was built to solve. And it all boils down to one simple but absolutely critical word: trust.
I mean, really think about it for a second. When you type in your bank's address, how does your web browser actually know it's connecting to the real bank and not some perfect fake set up by a scammer just waiting to grab your login info?
And that right there is the core issue. On the internet, proving you are who you say you are is incredibly difficult. Without some kind of reliable verification system, sending sensitive info online would be like shouting your password and your bank account number in a massive, crowded, and totally anonymous room.
Okay, so you might be thinking, well, hold on, can't my bank just, announce its security key to everyone? It sounds so simple, right? But this method has a gigantic critical flaw.
This simple approach gets you into what's called a man-in-the-middle attack. Here's how it works. The second Alice broadcasts her key, an imposter, we'll call her Trudy, can just grab it and swap in her own fake key. Poor Bob, on the other end, has no way of knowing he's been tricked. He thinks he's talking to Alice, but he's actually sending all his secrets directly to the attacker. This one vulnerability is exactly why we need something way, way more robust.
So if a simple announcement is a total disaster waiting to happen, what's the solution? Well, this is where the system that actually works comes in: public key infrastructure.
Now, here's the official super technical definition, so bear with me. It's the set of hardware, software, people, policies, and procedures needed to create, manage, and revoke public keys certificates. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. So let's just forget all that jargon for a minute. The absolute easiest way to think about PKI is as a global passport system for the internet. Seriously, this one analogy is going to help us make sense of all the moving parts. When you boil it all down, this whole system has one primary job: to create a verifiable, trustworthy link between an online identity, like a website, and its security keys. It's just like how your passport links your face to your name. So, to see how this all works, we need to meet the key players who are involved in running this whole digital passport system. And first up, the most important document in this entire setup: the digital certificate itself. Think of this thing as the actual passport. It's the official document that proves a website is who it says it is. It has the owner's info, it's only good for a specific amount of time, and, this is the most important part, it's digitally signed by a trusted authority to prove it's not a fake. But wait a minute, who actually issues these digital passports? That brings us to our next player, the Certificate Authority, or CA for short. The CSA is the main passport office. It's a highly trusted third-party organization, and its entire job is to be the foundation of trust for the whole system. They're the ones responsible for checking identities, issuing the official certificates, and keeping track of any certificates that have been stolen or compromised.
Now, you know how a big government office can't be everywhere at once? Well, sometimes that main passport office needs a little help on the ground, and that's where the Registration Authority, or RA, comes into the picture.
Now, the RA is an optional piece, but it's really useful. You can think of it like a local application center. They help the main CA by doing the initial legwork, validating applications, checking the paperwork, before sending it up to the main office to get the official stamp of approval. So, we've got the passports and the office that issues them. But how do we check if a passport is still valid, or what if it's been reported stolen? That's where these next two pieces come in. This is basically the Public Records Department. The repository is a big database where you can look up any certificate's details. And the CRL, the Certificate Revocation List, well, that's the really crucial part. It's the official stolen passport list. Before your browser trusts any certificate, it does a super quick check against this list to make sure it hasn't been canceled. Okay, let's go one level deeper. Underneath all the certificates and authorities, the real security magic is happening with cryptographic keys. But as you're about to see, not all keys are created equal.
There's a really clever hierarchy at play. First, you have master keys. Think of these as the master printing press for the passports. They establish long-term trust and are guarded like gold. Then, for individual conversations, you have session keys. These are like temporary, single-use travel visas. They're created for one specific chat and then thrown away. This separation is vital, because it means even if one single conversation ever gets compromised, the long-term master keys and the entire system's integrity stay perfectly safe.
Okay, so we've covered the trust problem, the passport solution, and all the key players. But why does any of this complex theoretical stuff matter to you in your day-to-day life?
Well, every single time you see that little padlock icon in your browser's address bar, you are looking at the end result of this entire global infrastructure working perfectly. That tiny symbol represents this complex dance of certificate authorities, repositories, and keys, all confirming that your connection is secure and you're talking to who you think you're talking to.
This system is the silent, invisible foundation that makes our modern digital life even possible. It's the reason you feel confident enough to type in a credit card number, log into your bank, or have a private conversation online, all without giving it a second thought. So PKI creates this amazing, robust system of digital trust. But it leaves us with one final, kind of fascinating question. The whole thing relies on us trusting the certificate authorities. So who validates them? Who trusts the trust keepers? And that's a thought to leave you with.